The light must be dim in order to enable the ego to rise up. In broad daylight, a rope doesn't look like a snake. The rope itself cannot be seen in thick darkness, so there is no chance of mistaking it for a snake. Only in dim light, in the dusk, in light darkened by shadows, or in darkness lighted by dim light, does the mistake occur of a rope seeming a snake. Similarly, it is for the pure radiant being to rise up as the ego. It is possible only in its light diffused through darkness. This darkness is otherwise known as the original ignorance, original sin. The light passing through it is called reflected light. The reflected light on its own merits is commonly known as the pure mind or Ishvara or God. Ishvara is well known to be unified with Maya. In other words, the reflected light is Ishvara. The other name, pure mind, implies impure mind also. It is the Rajasic or active mind or the ego. These two can be projected from the former Sattvic mind through another reflection only. Thus, the ego is the product of the second darkness, avidya. Then comes the tamasic or the dull mind in the shape of antakarnans, the inner organs. This appears as the world. From the standpoint of the gross body, it may be said to shine forth externally as the world by means of the brain, but the gross body is of the mind only. The mind may be said to consist of four inner organs, or the principle composed of thoughts, or the sixth sense, or combining intellect with the ego, and chitta with the mind, that is, memory faculty with the thinking faculty. It may be taken to consist of two parts, the ego and the mind. In the later case, the intellectual self or the ego or the seer forms the subject, and the mental sheath or the sane the object. The waking, dream, and sleep states had their origin in the original darkness, Mool Avidya, with the mind outgoing and deriving experiences from its modes in the waking and dream states and indrawn in sleep. Experiencing with modes of Maya, a unique power regulates all activities of the individuals and of the universe. All these are only phenomena passing through the reflected lights on the substratum of the self radiant being. Just as a rope snake cannot be seen in broad daylight, nor a rope itself in thick darkness, so also the world appears neither in the samadhi state of self shining pure being or in deep sleep, so on, etc. Only in reflected light, light mixed with darkness or knowledge soiled by ignorance, can the world, not independent of its source, seem to rise up, flourish, and be resolved. Its diversity too cannot be exclusive of the reality, the original source. Here, a play is going on in which the one single being becomes manifold, is objectified, and then withdrawn. There must be a Sakti, power to do it, and wonderful too. She cannot also be independent of her origin. In the self shining, pure being, the Sakti cannot be seen. Nevertheless, her actions are only too well known, how sublime. From her sublime original activity, that is power vibrating, sattva filled reflection results. From it, the Rajasic ego, then Tamasic thought forms, which are commonly known as knowledge, or the light corresponding to the magnifying lens. Just as the artificial light is projected through a lens onto the screen, so also the reflected light passes through thought, the magnifier, before expanding as the world beyond it. Furthermore, thought itself, the world is in seed form, seems to be the wide external world. Such is the extraordinary power. In this way, Ishvara, individual, and the world are only of the reflected light, having the self shining single being for the substratum. Now, what is the I thought, the ego? Is it the subject or the object in the scheme of things? In as much as it witnesses all other objects in the waking and dream states, or at any rate we think that it does so, it must be considered to be the subject. On realizing the pure self, however, it will be an object only. Whose is the I thought, the ego? This investigation forms the vichara. I thought and this thought are both emanations from the same light. They are related to Rajogun and Tamogun respectively. In order to have the reflected light, pure Sattva, free from Rajas and Tamas, it must shine forth as I. Unbroken by this thought, this pure state momentarily intervenes between sleep and waking. If prolonged, it is cosmic consciousness or even Ishvara. This is the only passage to the realization of the self shining Supreme Being. Again, there are two kinds of experience in deep sleep as recollected after waking. That is, I slept happily unaware of anything. Happiness and ignorance are the experiences. Thus, we see the power modified as darkness and diversity. The mind is the result of Vikshepa.